It's the Draftsmen Show.
The master classes, if you want to go to the pros for teaching, how could you do better if you want to play violin than to go to Isaac Perlman, if that's how you pronounce his name?
Well, are they the best instruction, though?
But this is one of the problems. It's just because somebody's the greatest at their craft does not mean they are the best teacher.
Yeah, I feel like it's the structure of the whole master class, the way they do it. I would never do it that way. I would never set up my school in that way because you're focused on getting the big names, not the big teachers, right? Most good artists, like the really, really good ones, the top performing artists are probably not good teachers because they're so focused on creating art. They don't think about how to communicate why they're doing what they're doing. They're thinking about how can I do this in the best way possible? And that's where their brain is. They usually cannot communicate it unless they've been teaching for a decade or so while they're developing their skills.
John Singer Sargent admitted that. He complimented his teacher, Carolius or Carolinus Duran, or I can't remember his name, but he pointed out he could teach it, but he couldn't do it. John Singer Sargent pointed out that when he tries to, he said, when I try to serve it up in the abstract, it's hopeless. He can paint it, but he can't explain how he paints it. That's what Myers-Briggs would call a sensory function as opposed to intuitive. Instead of living in the world of your mind and words and trains of thought, you're living much more in whether this paint appeals to me. It's most people who are inclined toward teaching as a profession are over there on that supposedly intuitive side of that polarity. But even though it is an issue, there are some really good teachers even in the master class, and I discovered one in this.
Of course.
Spike Lee has one. Werner Herzog has one. Ron Howard has one, and I trust Ron Howard because he seems like he went about this course the way he'd go about a film. He's going to plan out the train of thought. He's going to make it so that you're going to learn what you need to do as a filmer.
But a lot of times, though, the best way to learn from those top performers isn't to take a class from them. It's to watch them do it.
Yeah.
And to extract it yourself. One artist that I think is kind of both. He's a good instructor and a good teacher, and this is rare, but it's like Steve Huston.
Yes.
So there are those cases where you can have an artist that does both well, and those are the ones you really look for, but
he's given a lot of thought to it.
But most are not, and so you have to consider that. Are you studying with this person because you want to study how they do it and you want to learn from their way of doing it by watching, or are you trying to take their class and hear them and learn the concepts that they're actually teaching you? And it's important that you know what it is that you're getting from them, and that you're not just like going through the paces and watching stuff, reading books because it's a book that is on a list somewhere. Okay,
well, this leads us, the first point we've made is there are no trade secrets. The second thing is, how do I know what to study? If I'm going to get an education, do I go into the library and read every book? That isn't what our audience cares about. They care about how do I get the education to do specific things in the arts. And we made an attempt to define the fundamentals last year.
We had a roadmap of the PROKO courses.
Yeah.
That we were making, which are the concepts we feel are the most important to teach.
Right.
So
we tried to do that.
Yeah.
And a student might say, okay, well, what if I want to be and then they're more specific. I want to be a 2D animator. I want to be a classic animator. I want to be a 3D animator. And I want it to be really exaggerated like the Tex Avery stuff used to be, but with 3D. When a student starts having a specific calling, this is where art schools start to break down because they have got a mainstream set of paths to go in. So they'll say, you want to get from here to New York, you want to get from here to Oregon. They'll take you on the main highways. They're going to teach you the stuff that you would need to get there, but it's not necessarily the most efficient way to get where you're going. How do you know what the most efficient way is to get where you're going? How do you know which courses to take and which ones not to take? Do you have thoughts about that?
Online?
Yeah, online or with library resources, with resources that you can afford.
The internet makes it pretty easy to find the best stuff. You just have to try. Care enough about what you're about to learn that you are just constantly looking for answers to the questions that you have. And eventually you'll start noticing the teachers that keep popping up everywhere you look. You know, if you are looking to learn animation online, you cannot avoid Aaron Blaze. He's going to pop up everywhere. He has a really good website that teaches a lot of different animation courses. You're going to get there.
Yeah.
If you really dig deep enough. You really don't have to dig that deep to get there.
Right.
But there's plenty of others that do it well online as well, that if you keep digging, you'll get to them. You just have to spend enough time on it, caring, and you can create your own animation curriculum.
This seems to me like one of the biggest issues right now.
What's that?
Is when I was setting out, there was a dearth of resources. How do you know how do you learn anatomy and perspective? From books. Now there is a flood, and so we need mavens. Do you know what a maven is? How Malcolm Gladwell described it in Tipping Point?
The people that filter?
It's kind of like that.
I don't know how Malcolm Gladwell puts it. What is he?
Mavens are people who love a subject so much that they pour into it for the joy of it, and they just learn about it. You study something for a few hours every day for the rest of your life, and you become a maven in that subject. And if a maven is a good maven, you come to them and they will tell you what to avoid and what to go for. And if you're a beginner, do this. But if you're already past that, here's where you go. They are the treasure bearers who know what's inside that treasure chest. And so they don't just leave you to sort through it yourself.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of these factors kind of start working together. We're not talking about community today, but you participate in some online communities, and that they will help you to figure out what to watch, what to read. So community comes into play on figuring out where to get your knowledge.
Why would a person not do this anyway?
Even if they're in school?
Yeah, I mean, or why would a person know? Let's say before they go to school, why would a person not say, look, art school, $100,000, the internet, $1,000?
Well, you know the answer of why they wouldn't.
But
I mean, they're young. Their parents are telling them they need to go to college, and they do it.
So they're in need
also,
of something.
All their friends are going to our college.
But they're also, even if that wasn't the case, they are in need of something. And I think it's a grown-up to tell me what I need to study and how I need to study it. I think that they are seeking that, and I've got some thoughts about how you can get it in a way that if your heart is really on a particular school. I did this with a particular school I wanted to go to but couldn't afford. You get their catalog. You go through that catalog. You look at the names of all those classes. You read the description of those classes. You find out who teaches those classes. There's nothing unethical about getting a school's catalog and saying, I really would love to be that major. I'd really love to take every one of those classes. And you are getting an education in what the school has decided you need to get into that profession.
And then you can compare multiple schools' catalogs, see what the common things are, and then say, those are definitely things I need to research.
Yes. That opens up your mind to the school being the bridge between you who know nothing about the profession yet or little about the profession and the profession which knows a lot about itself and is constantly changing. And this place in between, the catalog will say, we've gone to the profession and here's the things we're going to use to train you. And then that helps you enter it and know what topics, what software.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's flawed.
It is?
Yeah.
How?
For a couple reasons. One is that schools make a large investment in their curriculum for the amount of time it takes and the amount of trouble it takes to make classes happen. I have written no fewer than 16, it might be 17, classes for a community college in California. Every one of those takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get the approvals from the state and people reviewing it and saying, no, this isn't good enough. And so because that's not a quick process, it means that a lot of schools would just rather not change their curriculum than meet what the industry needs.
Right. So you might be getting an old curriculum. That's why you look at multiple schools.
Right.
And you look at for the common.
That's right.
Common things, yeah. Cool, I like that.
Nothing's going to be better than what we already talked about in a previous episode, which is to ask pros. Ask professionals who are doing it.
Oh, yeah, just go on Instagram and ask them. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't think of that. That's totally what I would do.
If a pro is a good teacher, if a pro is a maven, They can help you. Drew Struzan helped me this way. I was 26 years old. There were all these professional illustrators going to study with him. He was the one who explained to me that there are 3 big disciplines. One of them you've got, Marshall. It's technique. Because I had technique, because that's what I was making my living doing.
Okay.
But you don't have draftsmanship. And draftsmanship is anatomy and rendering and perspective, those things where you have control of the form.
Okay.
And then that's still not enough. That makes it look realistic. Composition is the most important one, because composition is where you make your choices to get the emotional aroma out of this piece that you're trying to get. Well, I wrote that down, and that ended up being a table of contents for what I unpacked in my teaching for the following decade, because he gave me these 3 categories that I had never really understood the difference. Now, he spent 10, 15 minutes to explain that, but in that 10, 15 minutes, it made me realize you can have the best pen and ink technique in the world and not have any idea how to turn form. You can be as good at draftsmanship as a 3D program to be able to create out of your imagination and render and have no idea about the pattern, the abstract pattern you're creating that evokes emotion from the viewer.
Right.
So just that short list that he gave me, because I was a serious student, I unpacked it as a teacher to figure out what each one of these things meant.
Yeah.
That was an example of a Maven who said, if you're going to be a picture maker, these 3 things. When a student asks a professional, what do I need to know to do your job?
Yeah.
If you get a professional who can boil it down to a few categories, then you've got your macro plan of what to master.
So yeah, they just need to seek an opportunity to speak to a professional for a few minutes.
Yeah.
This could be at conventions. This could be through emails, through Instagram. This can be at a panel that they're at, and they go up to the mic and ask it.
So on the assumption that they've listened to this podcast for the whole first season, we spent a lot of time in the whole first season talking about what knowledge you need.
Yeah, but not for very specific things.
No.
That's what you're saying, is that if you want to specifically study like character design, go to a character designer who's really good and ask them, what do I need to learn to make it in the field like you did?
Yes.
And have them boil it down. I think that's a really good, I think everybody right now, go do it. No, seriously, that's a really good point. If you're studying to become something, figure out that roadmap first. Like, be clear on what you need to study, what you need to learn, and start prioritizing. Studying smart is, I think, more important than studying hard.
Low, doo, 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 low, doo, 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 low, doo, doo, doo.